Welcome to the Two Chumps Football Podcast. He's Emil Calomino. I'm Chad Wilson. We are happy to be here with you. Football is right back around the corner, so you're going to be seeing us on a weekly basis. During the off season, we were pretty much once a month, right, Emil? That's what we were on. All right. Well, it's back, man. You know, the teams are in the camps. The battles have started. Preseason right around the corner. Hall of Fame game. College football camps getting ready to open. And an announcement here. Hey, we're going to stop playing around with this thing, Emil and I. This is going to just primarily be a gambling show. So for all you degenerates here, if this is where you've landed in the right place. Why not? You know, I killed it in college football picks last year. Emil killed it in NFL picks. We know why you guys are here. We're going to stop pussyfooting around with it.
We were doing some off-season training ourselves, and we said, I don't know if the audience really cares much what we think about the transfer portal, but I know they care about how we're going to pick the conferences and the winners each week. So let's just cut to
let's stop playing around. Let's stop playing around. Let's just call it what it is. We make picks every week during the football season. We do a preview show every year, and this is going to be one of many. In the past, we have kind of crammed everything into one show. So we had a college football preview show, and then we had an NFL preview show. We are going to Netflix you guys, all right? We are going to break down the Big 12 conference in terms of what would be good wagers for you futures-wise in that conference. And we're going to break down the NFC West. We're doing that today, among some other things. So that's what we are. Tell your friends. Tell your dorm mates. Tell your frat buddies. This is where.
And to be fair, you know, people who haven't watched the show, if they've already followed us for years, they know this. Chad and I love this stuff, and we kind of evaluate it and said in previous years we got a little granular in the detail in these divisions and conferences. And let's face it, what people really want is information that helps them make both future wagers, which we're going to give you today, and opening few weeks of the season, a little bit of an edge.
Sure. And there are edges to be had.
Yeah.
So we're obviously still going to have our opinions on things as we go through and we talk about these, you know, different individual lines that need to be taken care of. We are going to have our opinions on things. And speaking of opinions, man, it's what everyone is talking about. Emil, since our last show, we had an attempt on the life of our former president, however that folds out, whatever you think happened there. And then we had a candidate who was in, who's now out. There's so much going on in the world of politics. To be honest, if you wanted to open a channel right now on YouTube, politics would be it. That would be hot and heavy. So we're going to take our little slice of it, and we are going to use the new angle of this show and fold that into this thing. So, as you know, Emil, your guy from Scranton has dropped out of the race. By the way, Emil, Twitter says he's been dead for a week. Okay, they said he's been gone. They've been using AI.
I don't wish.
This is what they're saying. I'm here looking at Bovada to see if there's odds.
I have to say, he did look like this last year or so, he was resembling the guy in Weekend at Bernie's.
Listen, for heaven's sake, I hope to God both you and I can make it to 81. And if our eyes are open, okay, he's doing better than most. What's the life expectancy? Is it 77? Is that what it is?
COVID dropped it. Yeah, COVID just.
Okay, you know, Joe has wanted life just by being here 81 years. By the way, you know, all honors to him. He did drop out. However that went down, I feel, did the right thing for the country. That will be debated. What is not to be debated, Emil, I'm looking at some odds here, all right, because our sponsor, Bovada, has odds on everything, all right? There are two kids running a race in front of your house right now, Emil. There may be odds on Bovada.
I want Joey. I'm looking out the window.
They may have dropped odds on it. So, interesting. I found something interesting. Right now, and obviously we're early in the Kamala Harris campaign, they have Donald Trump at minus 200. And they have Kamala Harris at plus 175. Mm-hmm. What I find interesting is that for the popular vote, they have Harris at minus 105 and they have Donald Trump at plus 105. So that says to me they feel like it's going to be a close race. And once again, Donald Trump will lose the popular vote because that's kind of what he does. But they feel like, electoral college-wise, if it were to be today, that he would be the winner. They're favoring that. You got to lay 200 to win 100 on Donald Trump. And
right. You get
Harris is at plus
5 if you bet Harris at plus 100. Put 100
Yes.
bucks. You get 175.
Yeah, I suppose the most active thing here, though, is the Democratic vice president. Okay.
Yeah, what's their? That's interesting. What are their?
At the top is Mark Kelly, plus 140. So
Give me the list, and I'll tell you who.
I don't have the entire list.
I'm going to tell you the theory.
I put down the notables.
Okay, go ahead.
So we started with Mark Kelly at plus 140.
Okay.
Josh Shapiro, who a lot of people I've heard campaigning and championing for. Josh Shapiro at plus 300. Roy Cooper plus 375. Pete Buttigieg at plus 3,000. Now, given those odds, Emil,
How about the governor of Kentucky? Is he on there?
Let's take a look here. You're gonna make me look this up, aren't you? What do you think he's at?
If Bashir's on there, I thought he would have been on your list of like in the plus 300 range.
He is no. Well, let's get this for sure.
Do you want me to espouse some
Actually, these are plus 1,000, so that's probably good up.
Gambling advice for you if you want to bet on the vice presidential nominee?
Hit me with it. You have an angle? You have a system?
No, I do here, based on logic and reason.
Oh,
Kelly's probably a good if you want a favorite. He's from Arizona. Arizona is definitely a state they need to carry.
mm-hmm.
Clearly Trump is ahead now, so it's a comeback, right? So you need a state like that. So he would be in play to me. Shapiro, while he's a governor in my state, I'm a Republican. I like Shapiro because you know what? The governor to me, in my state at least, the way I feel about it is like the left tackle in football. When I don't hear about him, he's doing a good job.
Yes.
I didn't like Tom Wolf because I heard about him a lot, and he was a pain in the ass. I like Shapiro. He's a centrist. That said, he's Jewish. That's a problem. Not because I don't like Jewish people. I have a lot of Jewish friends. It's because people in Michigan, they have a large Muslim population that in Detroit, if you're going to carry Michigan, if you're a Democrat, you got to win Detroit. So I'm going to give you the flyer. You take Bashir if you want high odds at plus 1,000, the governor of Kentucky. He brings the South a little bit more into play in some of those states that are.
It's a gamble, though.
It is.
Is Kentucky going to be blue?
No, but he can help you in states like North Carolina and Georgia. Or you go Kelly and you figure you're going to try to get someone with a little gravitas, name recognition. I would not go Shapiro. That's just my gut.
So an Obama Shapiro ticket would have been a real problem for some folks, huh?
Well, no, actually, I think if she stepped in, she probably would have had a good chance.
Yeah, they do have Hillary Clinton on here, I guess, because you do have to have odds.
I mean, really,
take a stab at her odds.
It's at Hillary
to
be presidential nominee.
Yes, vice president.
Oh, vice president?
Yeah,
plus 1,500.
1,500.
Yeah. Wow, what?
Plus 7,500.
Well, right, and that would make sense. She's already been the top of the ticket. Is she really going to subordinate herself? She's not.
Plus 5,000 as the Dem candidate. Interesting enough.
If I didn't hear the news I heard today, like if you asked me 2 days ago for a flyer, I probably would have said, "Meh, you want to throw $100 on that or something?" But like now that they're already
behind Kamala, yeah,
you can't do that.
All right, that's enough for politics for us. This stuff will have a way of sorting itself out. I just think, and if I have some parting words, the best is yet to come, Emil. Strap up, everybody. August and September and October is about to be wild. I just don't think.
Well, I mean, when you have, and I'm not laughing at this. I'm saying it more like when you have your first assassination attempt in 43 years. I mean,
I mean, when you do it in July, you left a lot of time after that.
I don't know where you go from there in the world of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to need to bring Vince McMahon in here and get this, like, where do we go from here? Tidy this whole thing up. All right, Emil, before we jump into our preview of the Big 12 and tell you guys what we think might be some worthwhile ways to go with your sportsbook account, I want to debate something with you. We talked about it last week. You brought it up again today because it was a thing yesterday. In yesterday's game, the Tampa Bay Rays, I almost call them Devil Rays. The Rays are playing the Yankees. There's always tension and bad blood there for, whatever reason. I don't remember.
Each other. I think part of it is because the Yankees' southern corporate headquarters is in Tampa, and there's a little bit of it's embarrassing if you're in the Rays organization or a fan, because when the Yankees come to town, there's way more Yankee fans in your town.
I mean, there are no Rays fans. So, yes, it's a Yankee home game when they're in Tampa. So maybe that's what it stems from. And just general hate for the Yankees anyway, because, they've gotten beef pretty much with almost every team in the East right now. So Jose Siri, a guy known to not give a bleep about anything, including teammates or what anyone thinks at any time, hits a home run yesterday, and I believed he was timed at 37 seconds, which is outrageous, Emil, by the way.
Oh, it's really outrageous.
37 seconds.
I wasn't happy. If you looked in that dog, Aaron Judge, they showed his face.
Staring him down because, he walks to the plate. He walks the final 5 or 6 strides and hits some kind of gesture as he touches the plate as if he tied the game in the 7th game of the World Series, all type of histrionics. He'd give
a bleep if Judge came out of that dugout.
I mean, hasn't he gotten in a dust-up already this year? I think he's already got into some fisticuffs.
One guy in Major League Baseball I'm not getting in a dust-up with is a 6'7", 280-some pounds.
Yeah, like, why would you fight the oak tree? But whatever. Fortunately for him, Judges doesn't run hot like that, so it would take more for that to happen. He just gave him a stare down. Anyway, an inning or two later, the Yankees are up, and Juan Soto hits one. Now, this is the thing with the internet. If you don't have any context, it looks crazy how he stayed at the plate watching the home run, leaning, whatever. It was very close to the foul pole. Okay, so he was there giving it the Carlton fist body language, really leaning, tongue out, trying to get in it because he crushed the ball, but there was a really good chance that it
was one of those balls where it had to stay fair. He just had to keep it fair.
Yeah. Otherwise, you were going to jog around the bases or stay at the plate. It was foul, you're staying at the plate. If it was fair, it's a home run either way. What ensued, though, was Juan Soto's answer to Jose Siri, who's standing out in center field watching it. And I believe he also took the greater part of a minute to get around the bases. It was very intentional.
Yeah, oh, yes. I didn't know that when I sent it to you.
Yeah, and all that with Jose Siri watching it from center field. But Emil, again, that guy doesn't care. So if Juan Soto decided he wanted to take 2 minutes and 30 seconds to go around the bases, Jose Siri could care less. He does not care. So
that's not a winning attitude.
No, I think more for Juan Soto was to get the fans going. Like, hey, look at what I can do. You run slow, I run slow. We can all run slow. You and I talked about this. You don't really care for the histrionics at the plate after a guy hits a home run. You can explain your position.
Can I expand on that?
Sure.
I don't expect a guy from the 70s where you hit a homer and act like you got a cancer diagnosis as you're on the bases, okay? I'm okay. I'm dead serious. I'm okay with hitting a homer, giving it to your dugout. You want to be happy. You did something good. Be happy. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Don't show
How do you draw the line?
Don't show up the opposition. If it's about, I'm excited because I did something to help us, I'm fine with that. If it's about, you're going to stand there and embarrass the guy you hit a homer off, okay, I'm telling you right now, I don't care how big I am. I'm ear-holing Siri if I'm pitching in the major leagues. He can come after me. He's not going to get there because if I'm any good, 4 guys are going to destroy him. And they're going to appreciate that I ear-hold him, okay? Because I'm not letting this guy jog around the bases for 40 seconds. He, by the way, Jose Siri, for context, 207 batting average, 682 OPS. MLB average is about 710. He's not even an average MLB hitter at this point.
I say that's why you celebrate. I don't, I'm not having a great year. When am I going to be able to do this again?
Okay, listen, I'm okay with the pitcher getting excited.
How long do I get to stand at the plate before you are offended?
Look at it for 3-4 seconds. Enjoy it. You hit it. It's like a drive in golf. I mean, if Tiger hits one 320, he's going to look at it. Okay.
But at 5 seconds, it's air hole time.
Well, at a certain point, you're embarrassing your opponent. And I know that listen, there's a fine line. Don't make it, if it's about the team, and I'm excited, I struck you out, got on the bases loaded jam, I'm not turning to your dugout. I'm turning to my dugout and giving it the old, like, yeah, I did it. We did it. Not, if I stare at your dugout, you're like, wait, what are you, clowning me? Or so what are you, making an asshole out of me?
I don't know. I fall on the side of, as long as a guy is not pointing at the opposing pitcher, saying something to a catcher, normally those things don't happen unless there's some kind of a history.
Right.
I'm okay if a guy wants to take a while jogging around the bases. Quite frankly, Emil, after you've given up an upper deck dinger, you need some time to compose yourself. You know what I mean?
Clock. There might be guys that like it anymore.
Right. Like, go get the rosin bag, play with it a little bit, find your parents in the stands. Maybe they mouth you, we still love you. Whatever the case may be, take a little time as you get around the bases. But, I get it. Maybe the stand at the plate could get a little crazy. But listen, my all-time favorite athlete is Reggie Jackson. No one stood at the plate and admired a home run like him. My second favorite player in Major League Baseball history is Ricky Henderson, who had a whole routine that would take him down there into the first base dugout side before he went around the bases. So
part of it is, I'm going to be honest with you, though, you just named 2 Hall of Famers. I think part of this stuff is context, right? I mean, if a guy's really, really good, I think people get less offended because, well, they're really good. I think people tend to get more ticked off when it's, some asshat that you're like, wait, I mean, come on. Like, Garrett Cole gives up a homer to Jose Siri, okay?
You're pissed that you gave up a home run to that guy.
Right.
B, you're pissed that he's going full-on pig job on it. Yeah. I got you.
You know what I'm trying to say? Like, I think there's a little context. Like, Reggie Jackson's Reggie Jackson. He did that to a lot of people.
I mean, it angered some folks, but, I mean, his forearm was like our thighs, and you kind of took your chances if you wanted to go after him. He would rush the mound. And Ricky Henderson, the way he was put together, you didn't really want to do that. Plus, hitting him means that's a triple. You can hit Ricky. Ricky's on third base if you hit Ricky. So, I get it. It's the thing to do now. We have brands. We have social media. There's a whole lot of look at me. But as Aaron Boone did say in regards to Jose Siri's, trot around the bases, hey, guys are going to do what guys are going to do, and it's on us to keep him in the ballpark if we don't want to see that kind of stuff.
And I agree with him. Generally, that would be my father's take when I was younger, is if you don't want someone to have too much fun, then don't let them have fun. But the thing we've got to watch here a little bit, this stuff bleeds backwards, right? So you see a lot of the videos now with high school kids. And
that's why I don't like that too much. But they're gonna imitate their faves,
and they're really getting crazy. Like you see high school kids literally like slamming bats like they're an AC/DC bass player, like with their guitar and turning to the other team's dugout. And we're talking like there's a certain this stuff goes backwards, right? It bleeds backwards.
I've got two things that I hate as it pertains to that. Umpires that chase after guys, if they're taking a little long to get out of that box, that really pisses me off. I'm not sure how I would handle that as a player. I'd probably get thrown out. And then catchers who want to block home plate or stand at home plate and get face-to-face with me after I've done my trot around the bases.
Yeah.
That one to me is an instant fight. That whole, what was the guy's name from the Braves that ended up being a Yankee?
Oh,
I forget his name. Brian McCann.
Yeah.
I'm punching you in the face. We're gonna go at it. Let's just do this. Can
we admit this on the show? Because you and I are of a generation. I like a baseball fight.
No kidding. Yes, we don't really get them anymore.
No, you don't get them.
These are not the ones we got in the 70s and the 80s.
Well, there was a great fight back in the middle of last decade. I still remember it. It was the Diamondbacks and Dodgers. I mean, they had coaches going at it. If you remember. They had guys falling into the first row in Dodger Stadium. That was a great baseball fight.
Yeah, now the fights are just between, Padres and Dodger fans. Now we get to see those.
Yeah.
But anyway, I digress. That's our little, offshoot topic that we wanted to get into here. Pimping home runs. Oh, and the final note is, look, both you and I have played baseball.
Yeah.
And man, there's no feeling like barreling a pitch.
None.
But neither one of us have done it in a stadium. If we did, it was behind an outfield fence that had nothing behind it, probably another baseball field. But there has to be some kind of a different feeling to put a ball into the stands where people are cheering, or put it in places like where Barry Bonds put his home run when he came to Yankee Stadium. Like, you gotta watch that.
Well, how about the one? Did you see? I mean, for the fans out there, I swear to God, as soon as we get done here, we're going to give you a lot of picks. So, and we're going to rapid fire. So stay with us. But did you see the home run that Ohtani hit the other night against Boston?
I heard about it. I didn't see it. I'm going to have to go look it up.
Find it.
He already murdered the ball.
It was Holy Willie Stargell. He will hit one out of Dodger Stadium. He hit the pavilion up in right center field, 476 feet.
Yeah, I mean that's a bomb. And off your bat, there's just a thrill, a feeling you get. It feels like, we're talking to folks out here who really haven't played baseball. It feels like nothing. There was contact, but there was little resistance when that ball met your bat. You sweet spotted it, and that thing's like off. You just know you got all of it. It's a good feeling.
3 points of reference, because the audience, some of you have had to do one of these three sports. They're all similar feelings. I've played all three. Hitting a baseball, as Chad's talking about, barreling it up. Hitting a tennis ball perfectly to your forehand side, let's say. I mean, sweet spot of the racket where you get the right velocity just over the net, or hitting a drive in golf where you just hit it perfectly. They're all the same feeling because you don't feel it. If that makes any sense.
No, true. I will add to that when you really center a guy up, and typically when he doesn't see you coming on a football field, and you just go through him like nothing because there's no resistance. He didn't get a chance to drop a shoulder on you or whatever. He didn't know it was coming. And you just like really go through a guy. You're going to get up and probably flex on that guy because it felt real good. I took your manhood, man. I really, went through you. I imagine for the basketball.
He doesn't feel real good, but you do.
That's if he remembers even what just happened to him. I guess for basketball players, if you're hitting that last shot and it feels good out your hand, I don't think that's as exhilarating as anything else we've described. But anyway, let's get on to these things that we came here for, and that is to tell you who's going to win the Big 12 and who you should be betting on. So we're going to talk about the win totals, all right? And then we're going to talk about what are your best bets out there if you're talking about who's going to win the Big 12. By the way, Emil, let's pretend I just came to this country from Kenya. I'm a foreign exchange student staying in your house. In under 60 seconds, I want you to explain to me why the Big 12 has 16 teams in it. Why you call it Big 12? Why 16 teams?
You want
Explain.
me to explain that to you?
Yes.
Okay. There's a suitcase full of these. Okay.
Somehow I think it's something higher than 20, but
Yeah, a suitcase, I said. Suitcases, okay? And when they figured out how to arrange those in the suitcase, that's what they came up with to get some of that. So let's cover, since it's a new season, we have some new fans here in the audience. Let me read to you the complete roster of the Big 12 this year in case.
yes, please refresh the fans' memories here.
I'm going to go in ABC order and tell you we have new members this year. We have Arizona State and Arizona from the old Pac-12, BYU, who came in last year, Baylor, Cincinnati, the Colorado Buffaloes from the Pac-12, and if you really go back and date yourself like we do, they came from the old Big Eight. So that's, you got the Houston Cougars, the Iowa State Cyclones, the Kansas Jayhawks, the Kansas State Wildcats, Oklahoma State Cowboys, TCU Horned Frogs, loser of the national championship game 2 years ago, the Texas Tech Red Raiders, UCF down near you, the Central Florida Knights, Utah from the old Pac-12, and then finally the West Virginia Mountaineers. So you people might be saying, well, wait a second. Why does the Big 12 have 16 teams? Refer to the suitcase full of dead presidents.
Yeah, because as we have it right now, there is a team from Florida and a team from Utah in this conference.
And 2 from Arizona. I mean,
yeah. I don't know. Let's call it the Big 16. What would that hurt? But whatever. We like to hold tradition.
So I think let's start with a little banter. Obviously, if for folks out there, we're going to try to pick a winner here and give you a future bet on this conference. Okay, so the favorites this year in the conference, Kansas State and Utah are both plus 350, which actually isn't really bad for a favorite. And then Kansas, believe it or not, yes, Kansas is plus 650.
This is not your daddy's Kansas.
No, Arizona's plus 750, Texas Tech plus 900, Iowa State plus 1,200, Oklahoma State plus 1,200. I'm not going to go any further than that if you want to talk about some other team specifically, but they're your top 7 or 8 teams odds wise.
I've got some opinions. Obviously, I'm not going to go through every team like we've done in the past. As if someone's going to finish at the bottom of this conference, I don't know how much people care, unless there is some money to be made on a team total win. I wrote Arizona last year. Actually, you were the one that turned me on to them with their quarterback that came in from midway. Yes. And now people will have an eye out. I do think Arizona is among four or 5 teams, I think, that are in the running here to win this conference. I consider those teams to be Arizona, Iowa State, Kansas State, and TCU. In my mind, those are the front runners that I think.
You're not feeling Utah, huh?
Not really feeling Utah. I just feel like there's going to be some slippage there, even though they're bringing back their quarterback.
He's been out about a year and a half now. So that's the other thing is, I know obviously he's got practice, but game speed is always going to be different. So he's been watching for a while.
In my gut there, I think Utah takes just a slight step back. That's always going to be a solid program because Kyle Whittingham is a solid football coach and they're physical and they play football. I just don't think they're going to waltz into this thing and kind of finish around the top.
There's been on Arizona though, since you brought them up. Let's just.
Yes.
I want to do a little bit of a deep dive. I think Arizona, coming off last year, whatever they were, 10-3, I think it was, got a bowl win. I think they drew the short straw scheduling wise, and that's why I don't really like them to win this conference. They've got a road game 3rd week of the year at Kansas State on a Friday night. They come back 2 weeks later off a bye at Utah. Then in October, they have a trip to BYU, which is never easy. They have to make a trip across the country to UCF in November. And then the second last game of the year before the rivalry game with Arizona State, they've got a trip to TCU, which isn't easy. I just think the road schedule for Arizona, especially like you said, they're not going to sneak up on anybody. I think that's brutal.
I would agree, especially the Friday night road games. Those really suck. I suppose we're in a situation where a lot of where college football feels like they need to have something every night during the week.
Seems
You
that
know,
way. I hate the Friday games. I've never been a fan.
yeah, most of your college football fans have people who are involved in high school football one way or another, coaching it, fan of it, whatever. And so, they're not really seeing those games live. And who cares a lot enough to go back and watch a tape recording of a game? I actually have a friend of mine who had a son in his senior year last year, and he had two older brothers that play college football. And the dad one, they're both the two older brothers are in the Pac-12, which is an abnormal situation. He's done a great job with his kids, but the poor guy had to make a decision about seeing what am I going to do here on this Friday night? Because USC, oh, God forbid, we've talked about that, was playing on a Friday night, and so was his kid. Obviously, he ended up going
Friday
to the
nights,
young.
I'm usually involved with Buffalo Trace.
Well, there you go. But it's like, why are we even doing that?
Yeah.
If you're in Los Angeles, why are you messing with high school football?
I think part of it is we, again, we won't diverge too much keeping this to gambling, but there's a need for content on the sports networks, and that proves it, because in a lot of ways, I think they toss away a good game that would probably do better. I mean, I'm hoping they have statistics, but as we see, sometimes we assume a level of competence. The Secret Service,
yeah, right.
Assume a level of competence, and it's not there. So what I'm saying is, maybe these executives just say, we need content. Give us a game on Friday. But I think like a Kansas State Arizona game, that would do good ratings on a Saturday.
Yeah, why would you do that? It should be a Saturday night game. I was of the opinion early on that this is an experiment, and when they get the numbers back, they'll cease to do this. But it has continued, so I'm leaning more on the side of going with what you said, which is they need content. They've got to fill up the airwaves, and college sports and sports in general is a good way to do that. I love Dave Aranda. I've spoken to you about that. I'm just looking like he's not a fit at Baylor. I'm not expecting much out of them this year. I think it's another losing season. There's been talk, of course, about Colorado potentially being a playoff team. I don't think that's in the cards for them this year. I like Deion Sanders. I'm probably in a minority. I guess he has a lot of haters out there, but you got to take steps to get there. And at the end, that's usually better for longevity. You don't want we were 1-10 one year, then we were 8-4, then we were 12-0. That tends to flame out really fast, and fans can't really handle anything less than that 11-1 season if it comes really, really early. They'll appreciate it more, and they'll be okay if there's a fallback from that top. So I think personally they're a 500 team this season.
Well,
I've already mentioned it too.
There's a nasty rumor. Let's stay on Colorado, because Feinbaum's kind of stoked this with the whole hating on Lincoln Riley. So there's the feeling that, Lincoln Riley's on the hot seat, which I'm not sure 3 years in he is, because that needs context. But they're saying, maybe Deion to USC.
I don't know. I kind of believe him when he says he's staying in Colorado, but then can never be sure. The guy's really good at marketing. I don't know if that would work, but who knows?
I mean,
you got to win at Colorado first, though.
It would be interesting if nothing else.
Yeah, he's got to win at Colorado. You can't walk out of Colorado a 4 or 5 win guy and be accepted by the USC community, which includes
$100 here. The audience is sitting here. They're saying, Chad, want to put 100 down on the Big 12. Who should I take? I mean, you're getting good odds with even the favorites. I mean, you really kind of are. So
I'm leaning towards Kansas being the winner of this conference.
So let me understand you. You would take Kansas at plus 650.
I got 950 from Bovada, And if that's what you're getting at Bovada, jump all over that.
Yeah, I think they have some favorable odds, and they are sponsors, so I would tell people check there first. I'm seeing more in the plus 650 range, but we can certainly.
And you also mentioned Iowa State, who's a tough cookie, plus 1,200, worth it.
Yeah,
definitely worth it. What do you have Kansas State?
I got them at plus 350, and frankly, they're my winner this year in this conference. They're always a tough nut to crack. They're a competitive program. They've been a very competitive program for a while. I like the way their schedule sets up. They have Arizona at home week 3 on that Friday night game. Then they also get Oklahoma State. And as you know, you can never count out Oklahoma State. Gundy's done a good job there. They get them at home. They get Kansas at home. And they miss Utah altogether in the regular season. So I like the way the schedule sets up for Kansas State. I think there's a few, as you mentioned, very evenly matched teams in this conference. I think it's going to be a good conference to watch as far as it's going to be entertaining and competitive. But at plus 350, I see plus 375. That's not atrocious for a team that's one of the two favorites.
I think, Emil, this is going to be one of, if not the most entertaining conference this year. There's a whole lot of mediocrity there. There are a lot of teams in the running, and there isn't no clear-cut winner. It's not a two-horse race or anything like that. So if I was going to make one wager, I would kind of go with someone with the longer odds. If I've got money, though, I'd split it up between the three teams. Certainly the one that you mentioned, Kansas State at plus 350. And then I might sprinkle that between Iowa State and Kansas as well, because I feel like it's going to be competitive at the top.
I've got a couple. What I would like to give is a couple over/under plays for folks here, and chime in if you disagree or agree or you have something else. First,
Sure.
We talked about Colorado. I have Colorado showing us as 5.5 wins. I think
they're a 500 team, so
minimum,
I mean it's close to the number.
Minimum, I think they're a 500 team. They've got a guy who should be a top 10 draft pick playing quarterback. They've got another guy on the outside that's a first-round pick in Hunter. To me, they've got enough high-end talent that they should win just a few ball games where they just have a better player in a position at the end of a game. So I have a feeling they're going to be a 7-5 team, actually. So I like them over 5.5.
Yeah, that's not, very far off from what I think. So, that's a solid one to go. I mentioned that I'm not all that high on Utah. What I have at Bovada is 9.5 for a win total. I see them also as like a 7-5, maybe a 8-4. And you could get under 9.5 at plus 125 at Bovada. So I think that's a solid win.
Wow, you're getting plus money. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I don't have them as an official play for me, but I like your play there. I don't really see them winning 10 games this year, I guess. One of the teams we didn't talk about, and they're always competitive, right? I really like Oklahoma State. I have them at 7.5 wins. I think they're like an 8-4 team. I mean, you look at their schedule: South Dakota State, Arkansas at home, at Tulsa. I mean, minimum you should go 2-1 there. There's wins sprinkled throughout the schedule. They should be able to win at home against Arizona State. They should be able to win at home against Texas Tech. So to me, I think there's enough games they should just straight up, they're better than the other team, that they should be able to figure a way to steal a couple wins. And I just like Gundy. And to me, 7.5 seems low. I think they're minimum an 8-4 team. I'd go over.
Yeah, I don't have a strong opinion there, so I can roll with whatever you got. Though it pains me to do this, I think the number on Baylor is kind of high. I have 5.5 from Bovada. And, all you got to do is lay minus 115 if you want to go under that. You
really are down on Baylor, aren't you?
I am, man, and I hate to be. And the guy's a good coach. I just think Baylor's not a good fit. I see them in the 3-9, 4-8 range because there's a lot of teams that could beat you here, right? If you just run through this list, it's kind of Here's what the Big 12 is. It's a lot of teams in the middle. There aren't a bunch of dreadful teams. Houston was bad last year. We know that. But they're not, and Cincinnati was bad. They just came into the conference. But there are a lot of, you got to pay attention every week. You got to be on point every week, or if you're a Baylor, you could just lose the game. And I just think there's a lot of that.
I think what people are going to find with the new playoff, with the 12 teams now, it's going to make these conferences a lot more interesting, because the better conferences like the SEC and the Big 10, you're eventually going to see some 9-3 teams get in the playoff. Maybe not this year, because if you have a brutal schedule in those conferences and you play a good out of conference schedule, it won't be unheard of, I think, that as a 12 seed, you'll see a team sneak in one year at 9-3.
It's going to be fun for us when we get down to the end of these previews to kind of talk about who we think is going to make up that 12-team playoff this year. What teams would be taking from what conferences. That's going to be the fun to win.
So anything else though in the way of over-unders?
I don't. I think I've emptied my lot here in terms of this conference.
I'm going to I have one more, but and then I'll recap. I have one more under now. I gave you 2 overs. And this is a team Chad mentioned earlier, and they're somebody I, as a Pac-12 USC fan, watched last year and told Chad, this team seems to be coming on. I like the quarterback. But I think Arizona is going to be hard-pressed to go over 8.5 wins this year. I'm going to go under. I mean, yeah, early they get the obligatory gift wins against New Mexico and Northern Arizona, but then they go back-to-back on the road, Kansas State, Utah. That's not pretty. Like I said earlier, they got a trip to BYU in there. They've got a trip across halfway, pretty much almost across the country to Central Florida to play UCF. They got to go to TCU. There's just a lot of potential landmines for a team that's in a new conference. So I like under 8.5 for Arizona.
Cool. Since I don't have another pick I care that much about, I think maybe you could toss minus 125 on Texas Tech being under. I just don't know if they're going to jump up and do anything under 7.5. I see them as a 5-7, 6-16. Let's talk about Colorado's schedule, because Dion in Colorado is a big hot topic. All right, and we're grab some eyeballs. I'm going to run through this schedule with you, Emil, and you just kind of tell me what you think, win or loss. All right.
Go ahead.
North Dakota State.
Well, we all know
that's not an easy.
No, we know the history and how good their program is, but still, I got to think with his son at quarterback, coming off a year in the program in the Pac-12, now moving to the Big 12, they can win at home against North Dakota State.
All right, so we're 1-0. We're heading to Nebraska. All right, Nebraska was not it last year, but we do believe in that head coach, correct?
Yeah, I think that's a problem. I think the road game at Nebraska, it's an NBC game, night game. The programs don't like each other historically. There's a rivalry from back in the Big 8 days, and I guess they were in the Big 12 together for a while too. So I think that might be a loss.
Okay. Speaking of don't like each other, next week they're at Colorado State.
I still think. I mean, I know it was a great ball game last year, but I think Colorado will be improved this year, and I think they'll take care of their business there.
Let's assume. Well, we can go ahead and say they'll win over Baylor next week.
I believe so. Yes.
You're traveling down to UCF. Dion comes to his home state.
That's a toss-up. That could be a problem. I mean, UCF is a better program than a lot of people who aren't diehard college football fans realize. I mean, they give people problems, especially at home. So the toss-up to me, they could easily, let's say they lose the game.
All right, I think we're in agreement at this point. Obviously, you think they're losing to Kansas State the following week.
I do. I give them a puncher's.
It does come after a bye. They do get a break after the UCF game. But
I mean, listen, I'm not saying Kansas State's going undefeated. So could they lose a road game at Colorado? Sure, they could. I mean, on paper, I'm going to take Kansas State.
Maybe you take a peek at who Kansas State has before and after the Colorado as I go through this. Then they're at Arizona.
I think they got believe it or not, I think they got a legit chance in that game. They know Arizona. They played them every year in the Pac-12.
So what are we at right now? We are at
Let's be fair and say they split those two games somewhere. I got them 4-3 at this point.
4-3. Cincinnati. That's a dub at home.
I think they win there, and then
Then they're at Texas Tech, who I'm not high on.
Right. So let's say after the Cincinnati game, they're 5-3, right?
Uh-huh.
I'll take their last. Let's take their last four then as a group at Texas Tech.
I'm going to tell you, though I just said this about Texas Tech, that's a tough game in Lubbock.
Sure it is. So I'm saying between at Texas Tech, home with Utah, at Kansas, home with Oklahoma.
I don't feel good about any of those last three.
Well, I think between those four, they can win two of them. I mean, I think they're going to go. I just think they're going to go 7-5.
Yeah, I'm gonna hold to that 6-6, and they better win the Texas Tech game.
Either way, 6-6 or 7-5, they're over 5.5.
Yes, which is a win for you if you got.
I think they're being disrespected. I mean, hell, they came off a 1-10 or 1-11 season. They won 4 ball games last year, and that was with the. I mean, they were trash 2 years ago. I just think they're.
I think 1-10, 4-8, 6-6 sounds like the natural progression. Maybe the next year we're 8-4, 9-3.
Yeah.
I just think that's a brutal finish to the year, and there better not be any hiccups.
It ain't easy.
They better split that Kansas State-Arizona deal.
Listen, we saw what Texas Tech did last year at home, and they almost beat Oregon. So we know
it's a tough game. Lubbock's a tough game. It's late in the year, so we kind of got to factor in what's Texas Tech's mindset. Are they still playing for anything? Those are the things you can't really forecast. But if there's something on the table for them, it's a tough game, especially if it's a night game, all right? Shades of Michael Crabtree doing something really crazy at the end of Texas Tech games. All right, let's move to the NFL. I told you we'd be breaking down the NFC West. This is a whole lot easier, Emil, than flying through 16 teams in a conference called the Big 12. You only have 14.
I mean, I'm hoping that, if we have an audience of some football fans and gamblers out here, we don't need to tell them who's in the NFC West.
No, you should be fully aware of that. Otherwise, man, get off the sticks. Go ahead over to the Kardashians, see what they're doing. Anyway, these are the people that yell pass interference on every pass play, too.
Yes.
But anyway, I digress. This division does contain the team that was in the Super Bowl that went to overtime last year, and that is the San Francisco 49ers, who have been one hell of a solid football team. As solid a team as the Kansas City Chiefs over the last 4 years. Would you not agree?
Sure.
4 or 5 years?
Yes. I mean, let's recap last year's just to get people. Last year, San Francisco won the division. They were 12-5. As Chad said, they made it to the Super Bowl. That was a pretty boring Super Bowl last year. I'm trying to remember. It wasn't exactly the most exciting game, but they lost.
You had some hijinks, like a linebacker tearing his Achilles running on the field, and then a coin toss in the overtime situation. And did they know how overtime works or not? But in terms of just the play, I may not feel entirely like you do because I do come from a culture of defense, but I can understand fans thinking that.
Well, I like a good defensive ball game. I felt like that whole game, the excitement was all in the last quarter. I felt like the first 3 quarters went by and it was kind of like a yawn, and then all of a sudden the game got exciting at the end, which I guess is a good thing. Anyway, San Francisco was 12-5. The Rams finished second. They were 10-7. The Seattle Seahawks were 9-8, and then the Cardinals pulled up the rear at 4-13.
Yes, Emil, I don't know why, because typically your Super Bowl loser falls off the edge of the earth. But I feel good about the San Francisco 49ers this year not being one of those teams, being strong in it, and really making a hard charge at winning the elusive Lombardi Trophy this year. And call me crazy, I think this is a 14-3, 13-4 football team.
Wow. I mean,
that's how much I think San Francisco is going to be on people's neck this year. First of all, they're going to kind of feast a little bit on what is becoming a weakening division.
Yeah,
I think the Rams are slowly sliding back. If they're riding on the arm of an aging, Matthew Stafford And it just seems like there's not the kind of energy in Los Angeles like there's been in the past. Seattle has a brand new coach. They've ushered out longtime coach Pete Carroll. There's question marks around, at least for others. I'm a Geno Smith fan and believer, but there's question marks around that. Hard to know how that's going to work. So you've got that issue, and then there's the whole Arizona thing, who the franchise just can't get their act together. You've got a new coach in there, unproven. They weren't very good last year. I think they'll be slightly better this year, but I think they get beat twice by San Francisco. So I think, first of all, San Francisco feasts on their own division.
What are their odds to win the division?
Their odds to win the division are minus 205 at Bovada.
So that's
I would make that wager. That's not too much for me, and I just think of all the divisions, this is probably the easiest one to predict.
And we're going to revisit this because I'm sure you're going to have some fun with me when I say what I'm going to say. I have a bad feeling about San Francisco. Not like they're going to not be a winning team. I think a couple things. They've gotten really close a couple times. And as we all know, I think that as you get close and fail, it gets harder and harder to come back. And then there's
unless you're the Buffalo Bills.
Right, of the night.
Then you could just do this every year.
Yeah. And I think there's a couple other extenuating circumstances here that we need to look at that we can't predict. But based on it not happening previously, there's a chance it could happen now. A couple things. The most important guy in the San Francisco 49ers offense is Trent Williams, in my opinion, their left tackle. When he doesn't play,
I still think it's Brock Purdy, but okay.
But when he doesn't play, Purdy and everybody else has a problem. And
sure.
The drop-off from him to whoever replaces him is steep. He's 36 years old. He's remained healthy the last couple of years. You got to wonder. I'm not obviously rooting or predicting an injury, but it becomes harder and harder to stay healthy in this sport as you age. Second thing is McCaffrey was a walking injury early in his career. Since he's been traded there, he stayed
nothing but solid.
Very healthy. You start to wonder, does he have a whole year of being healthy in him? Purdy started to show a few chinks in the armor as people figured out different ways to trick him last year and get him to make a few more turnovers. And then you got a receiver who wants to be paid and another guy who probably wants to be paid. One of them is leaving, okay, because it's just the way it works. And to me, it's a volatile situation. I'm not saying it's a losing situation. I'm saying that I'm not willing to lay 205, and I'm going to go in a direction which I know you won't like, but I believe in Sean McVay. I think Sean McVay is just a really, really good football coach.
Right.
And I know Stafford's a little older, but 35, 36, he can still sling it. He's got weapons. Their line was young last year, much improved. They got the two outside receivers. And I know they lost Aaron Donald, but I think they can be good enough defensively that at plus 350, to me, they finished second by 2 games last year. They were 10-7. I'll take a flyer on them at plus 350.
Yeah, I will maintain that I think this is the easiest of all the divisions for us to jump with. I hear what you're saying about McVay. I just don't think they have the horses. And I just don't think that energy is there in Los Angeles. I just don't feel it. Aaron Donald is gone. And as someone who watched that game intently over the last 2 years when they played Arizona, he is such a force. And he just ruins so much of what you want to do, try to do. I don't know how you replace that future Hall of Famer there. So that's going to take a little bit of energy out of the defense. Watch how things are a little different defensively without him pushing a pocket and teams figuring out silly ways or going off of their normal way of doing things just to block that guy. Teams can just be more
right. There's no doubt about it. You know, they're going to have to figure some stuff out there because, you know, the amount of pressure he took off everybody else on that defense is amazing. I agree.
No, it was ridiculous to be live at games sometimes and see him get back with the snap of the ball to Kyler Murray. Like him him and the ball are getting to Kyler Murray at the same time. It was absolutely ridiculous.
This to me feels like for the 49ers, and maybe not to that extent, but you remember the pandemic year when Dak broke his ankle?
Mm-hmm.
I specifically remember them beating the 49ers that year at a backup quarterback because the 49ers had a med unit. I mean, everybody was like MASH. Everybody.
Yes, I do remember that.
I just have they've had such good health for this, generally speaking, for the last 3 years in terms of guys.
And you just think that doesn't last forever.
Not when you have guys that had injuries or are getting older and somehow didn't have them for a period of time. I think that window, you got to capitalize on it. Because, I mean, how long do the guys I named previously continue to have that good health? Because this team's a different offense without McCaffrey. Even without McCaffrey, it's a different offense.
It is. They have a solid backup running back, but he obviously doesn't do all the things that McCaffrey does. No one does. He's a very unique player. I will say this, it does seem like I have a feeling they'll figure things out with Brandon Ayuk, at least for a year. But even if he's not there, that's more targets for your Pro Bowl tight end. They really, really like their first-round pick, Ricky Pearsall from Florida. Apparently, he is everything that they thought he would be. They're still Debo, and they're still good up front. You still have a very good defense, guys that run around, make plays. So when it comes to San Francisco, I'm gonna wait to see the fall off before I predict. I'm not gonna predict the turn in the market when it comes to the 49ers. I'm gonna actually want to see that. Schedule wise, though, they do have they do have Kansas City and Dallas back to back. That's of issue. They do have to go to Buffalo.
That's if you think Dallas is a problem.
I think they will be. You can play Dallas guy, Mr. Cowboy fan here. They do have to go to Green Bay, and they do have to go to Miami, and Buffalo. Tough.
Well, when you make the Super Bowl, you're going to get a good schedule. I mean, that's just the way it works.
True. And they do play Detroit at home, but that's
So let me ask you: you just named me a mother of a schedule. Do you have an over/under play?
Well, they're 10.5, so I definitely like them over.
Wait, 10.5.
10.5.
I've got them sitting at 6 different casinos. Man, people, you got to hit Bovada if you're playing these because
go get the soft lines at Bovada now.
Yeah, hit them hard. I mean, I've got them at 11.5 at 4 different books and 11 at another.
I still like them at that.
So, well, let's just use 11 for purposes of our scoring.
What do I gotta look at the other casinos you looked at? What do I gotta lay to go over?
Let's see. You are
that's the love there.
You're plus 105 at 2 of them, plus 120 at another.
Oh my goodness, yes. Go get that, folks. Go get it.
Yeah.
Go get it. Because I'm gonna tell you what people do. They like to go look at the schedule and predict how things are gonna unfold in an NFL season. And I know from just 20 years of this, Emil, right? Is that like we've known each other longer than that, maybe?
Yeah, it doesn't. You can't.
After 20 years of this, I'm trying to unravel the schedule and tell you who's going to be good on November 17th. Remember when we used to have Warren Sapp on, what he would say? The season doesn't start till after Thanksgiving. Because you will think certain things about certain teams, and you will be dead wrong a whole hell of a lot.
You're looking at a schedule, and because it's a marathon type of season, you have no idea who you're playing.
Who's going to have their quarterback?
Who's going to be hurt in general? Who's going to be hurt on your team? You can't predict that. You can't go game by game. It's an impossibility right now to sit there and say, oh, that's a win, this is a loss. I mean, you can have fun and do it, but you don't know in an NFL season.
Yeah, so for the fans out there listening to this, I obviously have a system I won't reveal, but a lot of it is I'm banking on the consistency that has been the San Francisco 49ers over the last 4 or 5 years. It's almost like I know if I put money in Amazon, I'm gonna get a profit. It's just how much of a profit. They're not gonna fall off the edge. They're not gonna turn into Circuit City on me. I'm just going on the consistency that has been the 49ers. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we've predicted the turn, but they've just been too consistent a team. They do have a good head coach, unless it's the end of a Super Bowl. So that's what I'm really riding on here.
So for purposes of this, we'll middle it between 10.5 and 11.5. You got them over 11 wins.
Over for sure.
And do you have any other over-unders that you like in the NFC West?
I will go with the number I've seen on Arizona at Bovada. Again, they've got soft lines in the future, so you should really hit it. Here's what's weird. I think they're way off on Seattle, right? They've got them at 5.5 wins. But you got to lay 500 to win 100 on that number, which is weird to me, to have that kind of line set up. You're basically saying the number you've put down is wrong. That's what you're saying.
Almost, yeah.
So it's not worth the 500 to get 100 there. No one wants to do that with future plays. It's the same deal with Arizona. So if you have different numbers somewhere for Arizona and Seattle, do you have a different number?
Because if it's Seattle, I've got all 7.5 across the board, and you're laying 140 to 160 at 7.5. So
I think they're a 6-11 team, so I don't like them over there. And you have 7.5. People think they're going to be an 8-win team.
Yeah, I mean, if you got them if you think that, then you should be probably
under for sure.
You should recommend an under. Do you recommend an under on Seattle?
Yeah, just not at Bovada, but if you can catch one of these other books at 7.
I'm putting you down for our scoring for this. You're under on Seattle, and you're getting plus 120 if you want to go under 7.5.
I'm not under 7. Is the number 7.5 for Seattle?
Yeah.
No, I don't like that. I think they might get over that number, but if the number is 7.5 for Arizona, I like that under.
Oh, well, it's not. Arizona's a 6.5.
Well, then leave it alone, because I think they're a 6-11 team. That's too close for me.
So what are the Rams? Your only recommended play here, I scratch out, you're over on the 49ers in the NFC West.
What do you have for the Rams?
I'm going over on the Rams. You're not as bullish.
What is the number, though?
They're 8.5, and I've got to lay 145.
Yeah, crazy enough. Bovada has them at 10.5, but you got to go 300 to win 100.
Yeah, no. I think Bovada is really playing around with this stuff, with the money and the wins.
Maybe that's the way to go. Do you really want to lay that kind of money to win that? So
I'm going over 8.5, 145. They won 10 games last year. To me, Sean McVay's a winning football coach. Worst case is I think he's got a winning football team, and that means 9-8. And I went to public school, but 9 is greater than 8.5. And if he even matches last year's record, that's 10. Comfortably over. I like the over there, and you're going to laugh. I'm willing to, at Arizona, over 6.5 minus 150. I'm willing to go over. That was a team that didn't have Kyler Murray for a big chunk of last year. And we saw what they did. And granted, Philadelphia stumbled down the stretch, but they went there on that Sunday. Kyler Murray got back in the lineup, and they walked into Philadelphia and won a football game. And I think if he's healthy, Arizona's a pain in the ass to play. They're not going to be a winning football team.
Well, we don't forecast, all right? But at Buffalo, Detroit, of course, you've got San Francisco twice. At Green Bay, at Miami, Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
Where you got a problem? Houston, we got a problem. And you like the Rams, so they got them twice. Brother. And they've got the Jets. And if Aaron's ankles work for the whole season.
We all know if I pulled that schedule out last year and I said, hey, you got a December game in Philadelphia, that's a loss.
Plus they play the Bears, who are going to go 12-5 this year with Caleb Williams, the rookie quarterback.
I'm very bullish. I think Kyler Murray, when he's healthy.
I like Kyler Murray. I'm going to tell you that right now. I'm a Kyler Murray fan. I just don't know if they go from
play against, and I just think I think they're going to be a fun team. They're going to be a losing team, but I think they're going to win more than 6.5 games.
Gotcha. All right, and that's it. So you got me down. I'm going to roll.
We had a very healthy gambling discussion here. So Chad's giving out a couple official picks here. First, NFC West, he likes the 49ers. He's willing to lay around 205 there to win 100. He thinks it's the easiest division to handicap. He's got them running.
Hands down.
he almost views that like a blue chip stock, folks. I mean,
Yes, it's Amazon, it's Apple,
then he's coming.
NVIDIA.
He's looking at the Big 12 and saying, "Listen, I'm going to give you a flyer. They had a nice year last year. They're one of the top teams from a handicapping perspective coming in. He's going to grab Kansas to win the Big 12. This isn't basketball, by the way, folks. We're talking football.
Crazy Chad.
Yes, and they're around 650, somewhere in there. You could probably get them maybe even a little more if you shop around. So he likes Kansas to win the Big 12. He's giving you a couple over-unders in the NFC West. He passed the 49ers, says it's the easiest division. They're going to go over 11 wins right around there. You're probably going to be paying a little juice, 130, 125. Shop around if you like it as well.
Yeah.
Then he goes to the Big 12. He likes the under 9.5 on the Utah Utes, switching conferences, and you can get plus money, apparently, if you look on that, plus 125. And he is going hard against Baylor. Under 5.5 wins for the Bears. You're probably right around pick on that. Okay, so you've got some good futures action here, and I'm going to recap mine. I'm throwing a flyer out there on the NFC West, and I'm going to take the Rams. They finished second last year. You get plus 350. He's laughing at me. Could be laughable, but I'm getting over 3-1 on a future play. That's a fun play. Big 12, I'm going chalk here. One of the two favorites, Kansas State. They're around 375, plus 375, plus 350. Still on a favorite. Again, not bad money. Granted, there's 16 teams involved, but I like Kansas State. I have a couple over-unders in the NFC West. I just said I like the Cardinals to go over 6.5. Chad thinks I should be committed. You're going to pay a vig on that one. And over 8.5 on the Rams. Again, you're going to pay about 150 there, but I think the Rams will be a winning football team. And then I go to the Big 12. I feel Dion gets to 6 or more wins. They're over 5.5 Colorado. I'll go over. I like Mike Gundy. I'm a big fan of his. I think he's a solid coach. I like Oklahoma State to win more than 7.5 games. And the new darling of the Big 12, a lot of people are saying they could win the conference, Arizona. I've got them under 8.5. I think the schedule does not favor Arizona going to a new conference this year. So
yeah, I was going to say, look at Mr. Positive over here. He's got all overs and all that kind of stuff.
We gave some political gambling advice.
We did. You know, if you guys, if you're a real degenerate and you want to vote on who's going to be the vice president and the next president of this United States of America, and I say united very loosely, you have somewhere that you can go.
Hey,
yes.
Let me ask you this before we go. Political conversation, more along the lines of, do you think Biden got a kicker to leave? Like, do you think it was like Texas A&M paying Jimbo Fisher not to coach for them?
You think he got like a bag to leave?
Oh, come on. I'm not leaving. I think I'm leaving. I mean,
I don't know. I don't want to be cruel, but this guy's 81. What's he spending money on? I got to quote the great Macho Savage and say, don't buy any unripe bananas. You're not going to live feed.
Listen. Warren Buffett's 95 years old. Okay, the dude.
I don't see them as being the same. There's different.
Warren's still making money. Okay.
I don't know, man. I don't know what the kicker was. Maybe it was the change in perception or popularity after the assassination attempt. Maybe it finally dawned on him, hey, look at the poll numbers after the debate. You probably
Jimbo,
don't have a
if he didn't get any money, you think Jimbo's calling saying, Mr. President, did you get any money to leave?
I mean, Jimbo is rich enough to be the guy that gave him the money.
Yeah, I mean, Jimbo's probably going, damn, I got $70 million to not coach football.
Yeah, you know, hey Jimmy, listen, hey, you just do what I did. Just do what I did. Just get 75 mil. That's the way to go. So, all right, man, that's it for us. Once again, it's Two Chumps gambling podcast. Do I dare say? Anyway, it's still a football podcast. We're talking football here. We're just throwing a little numbers in there for you guys that want to run up your bank account. Hey, we're the ones you need to listen to. You saw what we did football-wise last year between my guy here in the NFL and me in college football. Everyone here should not even be worried about the inflation in the economy. You've got money to bite. You got money to bite.
And by the way, we are accountable on our picks. These will be reviewed at the end of the year. So we keep track of it. We don't just tell you that we won.
Yeah. So, listen, just a preview for you guys. We just did Big 12 NFC West. Next week, we are going ACC in college football and the AFC West. Lots of fun. You guys definitely don't want to miss out on that. So, if you haven't done it already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, whether you're listening to us on your streaming device as a podcast or you're watching us here on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. And if you're on YouTube, hit that bell so you're notified when we drop that next episode, because everybody, all right, well, I know I got Canes fans watching, Florida State fans watching, and some Dabo Swinney fans watching. You guys want to know who we think is going to win the ACC. Plus, the AFC West, one of the more exciting conferences that there is, because the Raiders are always exciting, whether they're 1-15, whether they're 1-16, or they're winning a Super Bowl. And the Kansas City Chiefs are the Super Bowl champs, and Jim Harbaugh is in the AFC West. And
Can I get a little go out on a limb? I'm not going to have Cal winning the ACC.
Well, I sure hope so. But what are they doing there? Anyway, we're on. For Emil Calomino, I'm Chad Wilson. Thanks for watching the Two Chumps Football Podcast. We'll see you guys next week.